I'm Luca, co-founder and owner of the Living Care Company. Thanks so much for coming on and to agree to share your findings and opinions with us. Just if you could, just tell us a bit about yourself and how you came to start using our service and what was the progression towards having living care.
Okay, my sister and my sister's called Anne, by the way. Our mother's is 87 now. And about 4 years ago, she was diagnosed with Alzheimer's. Over the period of time, I'd say the first 2 years, she was quite able to manage on her own. As time went on, it was quite obvious that she needed help getting out of bed and just general domestic duties, etc. So we had a company come in initially twice a day, and then it increased to 3 times a day. And before Christmas, she got quite poorly and she wasn't wanting to get out of bed from, say, September, October, November. And we got quite worried about this. And also, she was just sleeping an awful lot. Then she got an infection in November and ended up in hospital early December. And basically, she was in hospital for about 4 weeks over Christmas and New Year. When she came out, it was quite clear she was extremely frail and weak. And a few things had happened in period before Christmas where she was falling quite a lot, particularly in the night time. And this was becoming quite worrying for all of us, really. I live quite a long way away down in Devon, but my sister lives about a mile away. So the calls in the night, or basically my sister dealt with, or early hours of the morning. And so when she came out of hospital, it was quite apparent, really, that we needed to have 24-hour care. We discussed this with her and gave her the options of looking at going in a home or being at home. And she very much wanted to be at home. She's lived in the house for 60 odd years. And so we'd already made some adjustments to the house so that it would be easier for her. And my sister and I had agreed to put a stair lift in so that when she came out of hospital, at least she could get upstairs. At this point, though, the company we were using, we just couldn't afford their services 24 hours a day. It was working out something like, I don't know if I could say this, but it was just very expensive. And that's when we started to look at other companies. We'd had experience, or I'd had experience with family members and friends that had experience with other living care companies. We weren't quite sure what to expect, really. And we discussed it again with Mum and explained that it would mean somebody moving in and actually living in the house, which she didn't particularly like the idea of. But we said the only alternative is to go into a home. And in the end, she agreed to give it a try. And in looking at the different companies, we obviously drew on other people's experiences with different organisations. I'd had a godmother who had vascular dementia, and she'd used a company that had 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off. But my sister had a friend who had used your services as a company before. So, and then Anna heard of you. She was listening to a podcast, which I can't remember what the podcast was called, but it could have been London Calling. And then obviously when she heard that podcast and she spoke to a friend of a friend, she said, why don't we have a look at living care? We both looked at 3 other companies, but I think the main thing that drove us to your services was the fact that the majority of the money that we pay appears to go to the ladies who look after the carers. And that really did quite appeal. And I think the fact that you were coming with a good reference from somebody that we knew made us feel more confident about embarking on this process with at least some element of confidence of knowing that it worked and that you were very good.
Tell me, what was some of your fears about dealing with a company that you didn't know? What are kind of worries that go through your head? If this happens, that happens.
One of the worries was the length of time that the ladies would be staying with Mum. What happened in the break? What happens if that person is poorly and wakes up one morning with a terrible cold or whatever? How do we cover that? So there was the apprehension about sickness. There was the apprehension about holidays and breaks. We were concerned, would she actually get on with the person, and what would happen if she didn't? So I think that was the big worries. I think, so those were the apprehensions. I think also the cost was an apprehension as well. How were we going to actually fund it? And also what sort of backup and support services did you as an organisation offer? for us as the children, but also for the carers who are going to be there all the time. And it was just an unknown situation. What was expected of us being family in terms of supporting the carer? So those were the main things, I think. But the conversations we had, and looking on the website, the conversations we had with yourself and Ruby, I think extremely reassuring. We liked the way you work in terms of interviewing, was allowing us to select people, but having also given you a brief of the type of person we think, or the things that mum would like. And then interviewing more than one person was very helpful, because you could really try and choose out of a short list who you felt was perhaps best fit. So that was really good. And those interviews that we've had have worked really well. And I think
Did you have Zooms with the individuals, or was it sort of video WhatsApp that you spoke to them all?
video WhatsApp generally, because was it January, mid-January?
Yes.
I think it was speaking January, because yes, that's right. I was at mum's when she came out of hospital, and worked with Sam, the first lady who came. And that was quite interesting, really, because it was quite intense, trying to show them the house, how everything worked, explain about mum, make sure just basic things like the stair lift, how it worked,
Yeah.
routine. But we put together a file, which I think has really helped, of all those key things, so that they have a reference of people around and what happens each day for mum generally, what food she likes, how things work, instruction manuals, etc., key contact numbers, her friends' telephone numbers, and generally people who might come, milkman, gardener, etc., which I think they appreciated, and has certainly helped with things going forward. All the medication, the doctor's numbers, medical history, certain key points, like she'd just come out of hospital, so there were points that they need to understand about her condition at that time. Yes. So that certainly helped, I think, us as well as them.
So you're really looking after the care and making sure they were bedded in, and that given all the information they would have needed to succeed.
We just didn't want to feel that they were swimming in a sort of sea of darkness for a week or two, finding their feet without any real help. So, because obviously moving into somebody's house with all these different aids and mats and the stair lift, and it's amazing that obviously we were a bit naive that the ladies know exactly what to do because they're used to it. And also, I think it was more reassuring mum about what was happening. Having one of us there when the first lady started made a huge difference. And then I think for both people, having my sister popping in most days for half an hour, doing the shopping, being on call if anything went wrong, also gave both part people a bit of reassurance. So that was certainly good.
One of your worries, which was, are you going to get a carer that's going to get on well with mum? And we always say, let's have a chat with a few different people. And then also you're not tied to that person. If it goes well, that's great. If it could go better, then you can always try different people. But currently you've got Catherine looking after your mum. What's the sort of good things about Catherine, how she gets on with mum and looks after things?
Catherine's very gentle. She's very respectful. One of the things initially that I found was nice was when I call or anybody rings, she doesn't answer the phone. She immediately passes it to mum, which is a level of respect to say, this is your phone, this is your home, this is somebody calling for you. And that was quite interesting, really. And the fact that she's very courteous with mum, and she has a good sense of humour, because mum can be quite stubborn. She's not aggressive mum, she's very passive, but when she is firm, she can be quite firm. And she can say, I don't need any help. I don't want your help. Go away. Or please go back to bed. Leave me. I can manage. But then, and I've heard this happening when I've been staying there. And I think that the fact that both Catherine and Stella respect that, they move away and then they go back. And it might take 20 minutes to help mum get up and get to the bathroom. And mum will either succumb to it, or she'll be stubborn and go back to bed and then become desperate to get up and go to the toilet. And I think that was really quite nice to see.
And they just give us space and just time to figure it out without the pressurizing.
That's right, because I think mum sits on the end of the bed and tries to get up and then she can't. and obviously gets a bit frustrated, but doesn't want somebody else helping her because she thinks she can do it herself. But she's got quite bad knees. And so even with the frame, if she's leaning on the frame to pull herself up, the frame sometimes tips slightly. So what's needed is a foot on the frame, hold it firm. So I think they gently coerce her into accepting their help, particularly if there's an event happening in the afternoon, like a doctor's appointment, a hair appointment, somebody calling for a cup of tea. We're trying to make it that there's a few things going on in the week, so she's got a reason to get up. So that does help. And she's actually now progressed to going to church again. When I went up, we had a very marathon day out from 12 o'clock till nearly 6. And then the next time we had a lunch out. So she's getting out, which is amazing. This was not happening before Christmas. So something good. She's eating well. She's put weight on. The food that they cook is really tasty and wholesome. And they sit with her in the afternoons and chat, because the breaks in the afternoon are 2:15 to 4:15. So we've now got into a regular routine, which is really good, that the home instead ladies come and cover whilst Catherine has a break. And then when I go up, I tend to say to Catherine, if you can get mum up and dressed, you can go off now for the afternoon, take a longer break, go on the bus somewhere because she doesn't drive. And it gives them a little space, really, because if they're doing 6 or 8 weeks, I'm concerned that it's hard going 24 hours a day. And when you don't drive, if the weather's bad, I felt for Catherine, the February was terrible. And you can't really even go out for a walk.
It's tough.
It is. It really is. I do, and it feel that they need a bit of time out. So I work quite well.
Going back to that choice between residential care and living care, obviously there's upsides and downsides to both care solutions, really. Yeah. But for some people, there's a strong preference for one or the other. But with your mum, what was, if there were any reasons, or was it just her instinct that said she wanted to stay at home? Were there any sort of action?
We actually discussed it with her numerous times. We went to look at various places and we found somewhere that wasn't too far away, but she just wanted to be at home. I think that familiarity gave her a sense of security and she just feels safe where she is. And I think also being in a home, yes, you do get the companionship sometimes, but there's lots of different people coming in, which has its pros and its cons. There are activities planned. I'm not sure mum would have wanted to participate in many of those. And so she probably would spend quite a bit of time on her own. And her friends are elderly. One close friend can still drive, but only just. 2 can't drive. So unless they could walk or get a bus or a taxi, she wouldn't see her friends. Or unless my sister took her or I took her. So at this point in the stage, we knew we wanted to give her a shot at being at home. And this was really the only solution. And like I say, my godmother experienced it. And so I had a little bit of experience myself of seeing how it worked. So for me, it's the best way right now for mum.
What sort of positive opinions does mum give about having a living care and what her moans? She must have some moans about it, probably.
The positives are she feels safe at night and she likes having somebody there. On the negative side, I think she's always struggled a bit with the personal side of things. But again, I was doing that with her when I used to go up and stay with her. But it is different from a family member. And the homestead ladies had been doing it when they could with her. But she's quite proud.
You could see that she's putting on weight and looking more cheerful and getting up earlier and getting out to church. Just those are gauges that she's functioning better.
Yeah, that's right.
What's it like for you and Anne, your sister, having a living carer? Obviously, inevitably, there was a bit more pressure on Anne because she was closer. And if mum needed help in the night, things like that, obviously a massive worry to both of you. But with her being closer, just naturally, it may have fallen a little bit more on her. But what's it like now that obviously there was a difficult patch before you had living care and now things seem to have settled? How does it feel?
It feels amazing in many respects because it's given us peace of mind. And we were constantly before looking at the Ring camera all the time, notifications, ping, oh my God, mum's got up, what's happening? And it would wake you up in the night and you'd be watching the camera and thinking, is she going to fall? Is she going to fall? Oh my goodness. And then there are times when Anne's woken up and seen it. I've woken up and seen it. I've been on the phone to Anne, mum's fallen. You know, the pressure that it's taken off is quite huge, really. And I think both of us feel that. But certainly at night time now, because we've got the pressure mats, we've got the pressure mat in the bed, pressure mat by the bed, I feel I'm speaking for Anne that we can sleep more easily for sure, and knowing that somebody is there and that if there was an emergency, they would call. So in terms of taking the pressure and stress away and knowing mum's safe, looked after, fed, is quite amazing, really. Yeah. Big relief. We have a good WhatsApp group with Catherine, between the three of us. Even though I'm away, I can still see what's going on. I can add a comment or whatever if I need to.
I noticed that you and your sister get on extremely well in terms of decision making about care. And what's the secret to that? Because not every set of siblings get on well when it comes to making care decisions. But how do you handle things together? What's the secret to you cooperating so well?
We're both different characters and we've both got our strengths and our weaknesses as such. And I think we complement each other quite well. Anne's quite practically orientated, and she looks after the financial side of things. I'm a bit more the emotional one, and I'll look more about the sensitivity around issues and so on. So I think that is a good thing. We both complement. We know what we're good at. And I think from our point of view, mum's happiness, good health, and in the latter part of her life is an absolute priority for us. And we want to make sure she's as comfortable, as well looked after, as dignified as we possibly can make it for her over the next couple of years. And the change that we've seen since January is quite remarkable, really, in that she's much more back to her old self, even though she can't remember from 1 minute to the next, really, what's happened or what she said, or she doesn't really engage much with the television, but she watches it. But she will have an opinion if you hold a conversation with her about something. So she's definitely got, I wouldn't say she got better, but it's nice to see her being back in her, how she's much more how she was, which is great.
Mojo back a little bit.
Yeah, that's right. And got a feeling of, because I think she was actually depressed before Christmas and didn't want to get out of bed. And the homestead ladies were wonderful, but they just didn't have the time and to actually spend with her to encourage her. And I think she just lost her sense of, I don't know, I think she was just generally depressed, and then she got poorly, and she would go 2 weeks without getting dressed, and it would be a rarity for her to get washed and showered and dressed. And that really upset us both. And she'd just lie in bed and sleep and watch television and sleep and more sleep. And maybe she'd go downstairs when she could for supper. But again, she was tending to be more room bound in the bedroom. The fact that we've got the stair lift is quite transformational. She will get on that. She enjoys going downstairs. She feels safe. And I think part of it was a fear of the stairs.
Yep.
And looking back, that was probably something that scared her.
Yeah, cool. Mm-hmm. She was staying in bed and just dreading.
And I think the fact she'd fallen sometimes out of bed, because the more she stayed in bed, the weaker she got. So the less ability to walk she had. And so it was like a spiral downwards. And I think all of the illness actually probably in a strange way helped refocus where mum was with the illness. And also we needed to up the care and move into a different level, which certainly you've really helped us do that. I've just got a couple of things here I must say, because I've sent them as well. And we both put that little list together. And I think some of the things from your point of view as a company, we like being able to talk and speak directly to somebody senior. Certainly in the initial stages, it was really nice to be able to feel that I could ring and speak to you, or particularly Ruby as time's gone on. she's been fantastic in supporting us. But certainly speaking to Eva was great. And I think that it gives us reassurance of knowing that. And we also felt right at the start that you were very keen to find the right carer for us, given everything we told you about Mum, which gave us an element of confidence that anybody that came forward, we felt would have been fine. And we had a choice, which was great. And I think we've found the right person. I hope we have anyway. We like the fact that Catherine had been with the other family for 4 years and had built such a good relationship with the husband, both people, but then carried on with the husband who was.
That's a great sign generally, yes.
Yeah. So that was quite interesting because we thought if Mum does get difficult, she's obviously got the characteristics and the skills to be able to handle that respectfully and win that person over. So that was one of the things that we liked.
I really appreciate your time, Helen. Thank you very much. Glad that things are going well at the moment.
Pass on our thanks to the rest of the team as well.
Definitely. All right. Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.